Welcome to the J. Wells CFO Show. I'm your host, Jeremy Wells, CPA and owner of J. Wells CFO, a business advisory and accounting firm helping creative agencies. In this episode, I'm talking about how a creative agency owner, such as yourself, can develop a personal vision and how your agency factors into and supports that vision. In the previous episode, I laid out the financial management pyramid that every creative agency owner needs to know. And the foundation of that pyramid is your vision. In fact, the whole purpose of that pyramid is your personal vision. So it's really the key factor here. We can talk about cash flow, we can talk about profitability, we can talk about building wealth, but without a clear and compelling personal vision, none of that really matters. So we've got to make sure that you're clear on that vision and that your vision is what's guiding and directing the decision making for both your personal finances and your agency. As a business and financial advisor, I'm often highlighting the importance of including the agency in the personal vision. A lot of creative agency owners, they see their agency as a source of cash flow, a source of income that provides the cash to go do other things. But they often fail to include the agency as one of, if not the key component in their financial management pyramid. I think that is a huge mistake. And the way we know how your agency factors into your financial management pyramid and the way we're going to organize ourselves when it comes to looking at other alternative investments to go along with your agency is all going to be guided by your personal vision. Your personal vision is the foundation of your financial management pyramid. But it's more than that also. Your agency and your personal vision have a symbiotic relationship, and I'm going to talk about that more later in the episode. But the clarity and the focus of one directly affects that of the other. The more clear and focused you are on your personal vision, the better off your agency's finances are going to be, and vice versa. Your personal vision provides direction and helps guide decision making for both you and your agency. So we need to be really clear on that. So why is a personal vision important for a creative agency owner such as yourself? Personal vision is a statement of purpose, essentially, and it outlines what you personally want to achieve and why. There's absolutely no judgment here. If you want personal wealth, that's great. If you want to provide an inheritance for your children, then that's great. If you want to give all of your wealth away to charity one day, that's great as well. I'm not interested in what your vision is. I'm interested in the fact that you have one and that it's clear and compelling to you and you alone, and that we're organizing your agency and your personal finances in a way that's helping you achieve that vision. Your personal vision is going to help you determine your goals and priorities first. In a moment, I'll talk about how to actually start crafting your personal vision, but ultimately, when it's finished, and it's never really finished, your personal vision is never really finished. It can always change. You can always alter it. You can always replace it with something different. But once you've got that first draft written down on paper, it's going to consist of your goals and priorities, what you ultimately care about, what you ultimately value. And then we're going to start moving from there into strategies and then eventually tactics that can help you achieve it. And the closer we get to the strategy and tactics, that's where we're going to get super detailed and specific about how your agency factors into that, whether you're going to consider other kinds of investments and how. But at first, your personal vision is just the overall picture, the overall image that you're aiming for. So when we get into specific questions, should you open a 401k or buy an investment rental property? These are tactical questions that we can't really answer in any kind of strategic way until we're clear on what your vision is. Should you hire a virtual assistant or find a partner for your agency? You can accomplish roughly the same short-term outcome with either one of those approaches, but without knowing what your long-term vision, what your long-term goal for your agency is, picking the wrong choice could have dramatic consequences. Whether you need to hire a VA today or start looking for a business partner or maybe even an acquirer, that's all going to depend on what your long-term vision is. So without a clear and compelling vision, I can't really help you decide which of those two paths to take. It's going to depend on how you want to structure your agency, what your business model is, and how that's going to factor into your long-term vision. You can't answer business questions unless you have a clear personal vision. At least you can't answer those questions in a meaningful way. You can try different tactics and strategies, but without an overarching idea of what you're working toward, none of those tactics and strategies are going to be coherent with each other, and they're not going to be pushing you in the direction that you ultimately want and need to be heading. So your vision serves as a guiding light for all of your business decisions, as well as your personal financial decisions, but especially your business decisions. Again, this is something that I see a lot of agency owners fail to comprehend, that the business itself is not a means to an end. It's actually part of your personal financial situation, and therefore your personal financial vision needs to be guiding the business decisions that you're making beyond just short-term cash flow for yourself. Your personal vision gives your company a sense of identity and direction. A lot of small business owners, especially creative agency owners, struggle when it comes to creating a mission statement for their own agency or establishing a list of values for their agencies. And it's because they haven't done that work for themselves. They don't know what their business stands for because they don't know what they stand for. They don't know what their business is trying to accomplish because they don't know what they individually are trying to accomplish. But when you figure that out for yourself personally first, then it becomes a lot easier to do that for your business. And it's not in a selfish way. Your business can still be a source of help and doing great work for your customers, but also be serving your personal vision. Again, it all depends on what your vision is. If your vision is to build personal wealth for yourself, an agency that's not doing a great job of taking care of its customers may not be the greatest way to build up your personal wealth, because it's going to struggle to maintain any sort of profitability and reputation in the marketplace. But if you're looking for a more altruistic personal vision, such as charity, again, you need to run a profitable business. You can't be doing charity work through your business if you're trying to build it up as a source of funding for your personal financial vision. It's especially important in the competitive and ever-changing world of small business and especially creative agencies that you have a clear and compelling vision. And yes, your vision can change over time. You can alter it. But the more consistent you keep your vision, the more consistently you can manage and run your agency in such a way that it provides the return you need to fund that personal vision. So how do finances fit into your personal vision? This is something that needs to be made clear right off the bat as well, because when we talk about your personal vision, I'm not just talking about having a mansion and sports cars, because a lot of people don't really care about that. That might be your vision, and again, there's no judgment here. That's personally fine, but a lot of people, that's not really their personal vision. I know it's not mine. Do I want a nice, comfortable home for me and my family? Of course I do. Do I want a nice car to drive around? Of course I do. But I'm not looking to be Bruce Wayne. I'm not looking to be a super millionaire. I am just looking to be comfortable and to provide a comfortable lifestyle for myself and my family. So the question then is, how do we pay for that? Because in our society, in order to have the things you want, you have to figure out a way to get them. And the most preferred way socially to do that is to pay for them, is to make the money to pay for them. So as a creative agency owner, it's critical that you consider the financial aspects of your vision. Now, your company, as I said in the last episode, is one of, if not the top investment in your portfolio. It's probably going to be worth more, hopefully, if you build it in a way that's going to make it a profitable, sellable business. Your company, your agency, is going to be the most valuable investment in your portfolio. It's going to be more valuable than your home. It's going to be more valuable than your 401k. It's going to be more valuable than really anything else in your portfolio if you drive it in the direction it needs to go to be a profitable, sellable business, which is what I encourage my customers and my listeners to do. How are you going to pay for your vision? Is your vision something that's going to be cash flow intensive, and therefore you're going to want to maintain a role in your company for the long run? If so, what kind of role? Because I don't want you working in the day-to-day operations of your agency in your 70s and 80s, but I do want you to be able to continue drawing cash flow from that agency if that's what it's going to take to fuel your vision. On the other hand, you might need a lump sum amount in order to achieve your vision, and therefore we're going to want to get your agency to a point to where it's sellable so that you can then sell it to a competitor or an acquirer, or perhaps even one of your own employees can take over and buy the company from you. That is going to put you in the position to have a lump sum of cash. And it may not be one lump sum. It might be paid out over 2 or 3 or 4 years. A lot of business acquisition deals are structured that way. But the point is, are you going to want to have a long-term cash flow from your agency, or are you going to look to sell your agency and be able to cash in on the investment that you've built up in your company? When will you know that you can afford your vision? That's another critical question. How much is your vision going to cost? Can you put a number on that? And it doesn't have to be an exact number. It can be an estimate. And yes, it's going to take some time to get there. And we have to factor in inflation. We have to factor in new technology. We have to factor in a lot of things that are going to affect that estimate. But again, it's an estimate. It's a rough estimate. We can put a number, an even round number, on how much that vision is going to cost. And then we need to figure out a way to work toward that number. So how are you going to measure progress toward your vision? That's another key metric here. We need to be looking not only at how profitable and valuable your business is over time, each quarter or year, but we need to be looking at the progress you're making toward your personal vision as well. So your personal vision should align with your company's financial objectives and metrics. This is something that I help some of my customers with, is dashboards for KPIs within their company. Most of those KPIs, we're looking at performance and position financially within the company. But we also need to think about how those KPIs connect back to the owner's personal vision. So profitability compared to industry benchmarks is one set of KPIs that we're looking at. So smaller figures but higher margins will make sense for more of a lifestyle type agency where maybe it's you and just a handful of contractors. And if that's the kind of agency you want to run based on your personal vision, then we're going to interpret those gross profit and gross profit margin KPIs differently than, say, you wanted to build a scalable agency that you're looking to sell, because then we're going to be looking for larger figures but probably lower profit margins. So again, it goes back to what your personal vision is. Just because we have KPIs and we can compare those to industry benchmarks doesn't necessarily tell us whether the agency itself is factoring into your personal financial vision the way you want it to. We can see how it compares to your competitors, but again, that doesn't tell us how well it's doing for you personally. And ultimately, that's what matters. I don't necessarily want you to have the most profitable agency in the world. I want you to have an agency that is fulfilling its role, which is to support and fund your personal financial vision. We're also going to look at the long-term valuation of your agency relative to your personal financial vision. Like I said before, I want you building a profitable, sellable agency. That's what I'm pushing my customers to do. Will it be attractive to potential investors or acquirers? And again, this depends on your business decision making relative to your personal financial goals. If you're looking at bringing yourself out of day-to-day operations but staying in a leadership role within the company, such as CEO or maybe even chairman of the board eventually, then that's going to be a different set of business decisions and positioning in terms of valuation than if you're looking to just sell the business in one transaction. What valuation do you need for your agency in order to fund your vision? Again, this goes back to the earlier question of how much is your vision going to cost? And therefore, what kind of valuation do we need for your agency in order to fund that vision? Remember, the goal of financial management is to optimally deploy the financial resources you control, including those of your company. And again, your company is probably your primary, it's probably your largest asset. We need to figure out how to optimally deploy the financial resources you control, including those of your agency, toward achieving your personal vision. How are you going to develop this personal vision? The way I like to do it is to stop for a moment, find a nice, quiet, secluded, isolated spot. This can be at your normal work area. This can be at a coffee shop. This can be out in the middle of a field or the middle of the woods. You might find a cabin to rent for a night just to get away to do this. It's a thought exercise. So whatever is going to facilitate you being able to get clear and focused on your thoughts is what matters here. But when you get there, then what I want you to do is imagine your ideal lifestyle and don't hold back on this. Not at any particular point or in any particular place, but just think about what your ideal lifestyle is. Where are you? That's a number one question. A lot of people say they want to retire to a certain place. They want to retire to a tropical location, or they want to retire to maybe back to where they're from. Maybe they moved around in their life and they've spent the last few decades of their life just yearning to be back home where things are familiar. Maybe you've got a completely different idea. Maybe you want to travel the world. So where are you? And who's around you? Who are you spending that ideal lifestyle with? And what are you doing? Now, you don't have to be specific here, but the more specific you are, the clearer that vision is going to be. And therefore, the easier it's going to be to estimate how much it's going to cost and how much you're going to need in order to afford it. So again, you don't have to be super specific, but the more specific you are, the easier the later steps of this exercise are. What do you have or own? And again, there's no judgment here. If your personal vision is based around owning either some really valuable stuff or having a lot of stuff or having some really expensive stuff, that's fine. Just have a clear vision what that actually is. What are you known for? What's your reputation? What's your legacy? This is another important question. Beyond just what do you have and where are you, but what are you known for? All of that out. Describe every detail. Don't hold back. Where are you? Who are you with? What are you doing? What are you known for? What do you have or own? And this should all seem a little bit bigger than you could accomplish in one lifetime. These are stretch goals. You should really be pushing yourself. Another name for this is a BHAG, or a big, hairy, audacious goal. Whatever you want to call it, whatever system you want to use to come up with these, the idea is you just have an image in your head and that you're putting that down on paper so you can actually read back through and see in detail what that image is. Another way to do this is what Donald Miller, the author of Building a Story Brand, suggests, which is to write your own eulogy. So imagine what you want your loved ones to remember about you after you passed away. And that really gets at the question of what are you known for and who's around you and what effect you've had on them. So you're going to list all of that out on paper. You're going to write all of that down in as much detail as you can and take as much time as you need. And this is something that you should probably keep on hand at least for maybe a week, maybe even a few weeks after you've done it, because you might think of new details that you add to it. Now, you don't want to keep adding to it until it becomes incoherent, that you want to travel the world and also live in the U.S. Midwest on a dairy farm. You want these different parts of your vision to be coherent, but at the same time, you want it to be as detailed as possible, because the more detailed and specific you are, the easier it's going to be to estimate what it's going to cost, what it's going to take to get you there. Now, once you've got all of that laid out, then this is where you have to start getting strategic. Again, this should seem like more than what you could accomplish in a lifetime, and therefore we're going to have to focus on some of it. We're going to have to narrow this down. We're going to have to whittle down the parts that we're not as interested in and focus on the super important parts. So decide on one aspect of that ideal life that is different from your current life. Where are you geographically, as opposed to where do you want to be? So for example, if you want to live somewhere else that's radically different from where you're living today, then focus on that. If that's the main part of your big image of your ideal life, what are you doing day to day that isn't what you want to be? What can you cut out of your daily life in your ideal life? What's something you don't own yet that you want to? Is it a private jet? Is it a big mansion? Is it a really expensive sports car? What's something you're not known for yet? Is there something you want to be known as an expert in that you're working on now, but you don't have the awareness or you don't have the notoriety for yet? Whatever that one thing is, write it down in the middle of a blank sheet of paper. So you're going to get a new sheet of paper for this. You've got that ideal life described somewhere else. Now in a blank sheet of paper, in the middle of it, you're going to write down what that one aspect of that ideal life is. And then take that and start writing down everything that comes to mind that would have to happen to achieve it. If you want to move to a different location and spend the rest of your life there, what needs to happen to get you there? If you want to own something that is way beyond your financial means to buy today, how much money do you need to make? How are you going to make it? Where's that money going to come from? In what time frame could you earn that much money? Whose support or help do you need? If you want to be known as an expert in your field, then you need other experts in the field to recognize you as an expert in that topic or in that field or in that genre or industry or whatever. So whose support or help do you need? What role or status do you need? Is there some award you're trying to win? Is there some title you're trying to achieve? And again, the more specific you can be here, the better. If you need someone's support, whose support? Put a name down. If you don't know a specific name, then what role or position is that person in? Is that a formal role? Is there an actual title for that role? Or is it just an informal role? Is it someone who is a standard bearer or someone who is well known in the field? And then if it's a role, then who are some people that currently fill that role or might be close to filling that role? And if those people are beyond your ability to contact right now, whose attention or support would you need in order to get on their calendar? Everybody that has reached a certain position has people just beneath them that some of them might also be interested in that position, but some of them might be willing to facilitate a relationship between you and that person above them. You just need to be super specific here. And when you can't be specific, start thinking about how you can be specific. Say you want a mansion with 20 bedrooms someday. How much is that going to cost? It depends on what market you're looking in. It depends on the structure of that building. It depends on a lot of different things. So let's start getting more specific then. Where are some 20-bedroom mansions in the world right now? How many of those recently sold, and how much did they sell for? So you might need to do some research to start getting some answers, but that process of doing research and getting those answers is what's going to help clarify and focus you on that actual image, that ideal image that you have. And that process is also going to make it more realistic. You're going to find that a lot of those things that are in your ideal image, and so it's hard to really imagine them in the real world, this will help you realize that they actually exist. That some of these things are actually out there in the real world. They're tangible. You can actually go visit a 20-bedroom mansion. You can go tour one. You can see ones that have sold recently, if that's your vision, if that's your ideal image. Eventually, you should get to a goal through this process that actually seems somewhat reasonable, even though it's still challenging. And again, you're going to try to quantify this in terms of a dollar amount. How much is it going to take from a dollar's perspective to get to that ideal lifestyle? And if you need $10 million to fulfill your vision, and that seems completely out of line today, then how about owning an agency that's worth $10 million? Because you could turn around and sell that agency and have that lump sum, or at least if that deal is structured over a couple years, you would have the down payment to start working to acquire it. But in order to have a $10 million agency, because that might too still seem like a wild notion, you need a company that nets about $3 to $4 million per year. Because most creative agencies are going to sell for 3 to 4 times their net profit or their EBITDA. Maybe you just need an agency that nets 3 to 4 million per year. And with net margins of about 1/3, then that would mean 75 customers paying $10,000 a month. So in order to have a $10 million agency, you need 75 customers paying $10,000 a month. Or even easier, you could have about 40 customers paying $20,000 a month. Now, 40 customers, not that difficult. Them paying $20,000 a month, probably going to be more difficult. But to get that, you need to sell just one customer a subscription at $20,000 a month. Or if you want to go for 75 at $10,000 a month, sell just one customer on $10,000 a month. So the real question then is not how do you build a $10 million agency. The real question is, can you develop a $10,000 a month or a $20,000 a month subscription service? Now that is a lot more reasonable. That is a lot more rational even. It's a lot more realistic to say, let's develop a $10,000 a month subscription service that our current and prospective customers would actually be interested in buying from us. And if you can sell that once, you can sell it 40 more times, or you can sell it 75 more times. And then you have your goal. You have the means to achieve your personal financial vision. It doesn't mean it's not a lot of work. It's definitely a lot of work to get there. A $10,000 subscription is probably going to be a tough sell if you are used to selling $10,000 projects or $500 a month subscriptions. But you can get there. You can work your way to a $10,000 a month subscription service a lot easier than you can worry about needing $10 million to fulfill your vision. So developing a personal vision is what's going to provide direction, purpose, and identity for your company. Think about the transformative effect committing your agency to developing a $10,000 subscription service would have. If today you're selling $500 a month subscriptions or you're selling $5,000 projects, think about the transformation that would occur in your agency over the next 3, 6, 9, maybe 12 months. I wouldn't stretch this out too far. Within the next 3 to 6 months, develop and start selling, or attempting to sell at least, a $10,000 a month subscription service. Think about what would need to go into that. Think about what you would need from a logistical perspective, from a reputation perspective. And I challenge you. I think it's possible. There are agencies, there are companies doing this every day that are transforming based solely on having a goal or aspiration. But notice where this comes from. It doesn't come from a KPI dashboard. It doesn't come from a profit and loss statement. It doesn't come from hiring a new VA for your agency. It comes from having a clear and focused personal financial vision where you have decided what that ideal lifestyle is. You've researched and figured out how much it's going to cost, and you've committed yourself and all of your financial assets, primarily your agency, toward helping you achieve it. Don't be afraid to dream big, and let that personal vision guide you and your agency to success. If you want help working out what your personal vision is and then designing your agency in order to support it, get in touch with me. This is what I help customers do. I'm Jeremy Wells, CPA, host of the J. Wells CFO Show. Thanks for listening.